A few of you asked for me to talk about the medical medium. This is not someone I had heard of previously. To talk about him, specifically his celery juice recommendations. So for those who don't know, the medical medium, his name is Anthony William. He has a few books, one medical medium, I think another one is thyroid healing. He is not a doctor. He is just pretty much your standard quack. He's a contributor to Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop. So, I mean, that pretty much says all you need to know. And it's hard to really talk about anything that he says, anything that he's promoting without just saying source. Like, do you have any sources for this? Because he just says things without providing any evidence, instead encouraging you to buy his book. And he claims to have literal magic knowledge from the spirit of compassion. Something for which not only is there obviously no evidence, but there's also evidence against it because there are multiple people who make these claims that they have knowledge from some divine being, and yet their claims contradict the other people who also say that they have knowledge from a divine being. So either there's no divine being, or there is one, but they're like totally unreliable. Like they're just fucking with these people and giving them different information. That's kind of funny. Obviously, this is in direct contrast to empirical science and logical arguments where experimenting can discredit a hypothesis or analysis with formal logic can prove an argument valid. Every valid form of knowledge has a method to prove or disprove it. The methods may not be perfect, but at least it's something. Of course, mystical knowledge has none. It's just whatever the mystic wants to believe, essentially, right? And so that's the case with Anthony William, with the medical medium, and honestly, I could just leave it at that, but that would not make for a very fun video. So let's look at some of his more prominent claims. So celery juice, this is his big thing, his like main recommendation for everyone is to drink celery juice in the morning on an empty stomach, 16 ounces of it. Gross, but I mean, celery is good for you, right? And many of us don't eat enough vegetables. So, you know, it's probably good for you unless you're like allergic to celery. It's very low in calories. It's got vitamin K, folate, potassium, some fiber. So essentially a lot of things that can be lacking on like your standard highly processed American diet. So yeah, if you want to do it, if you like doing it and it helps you get in more produce, more vegetables, cool. But of course, this is not why Anthony recommends drinking celery juice. It's not just to get in a little bit more vitamins and, you know, more vegetables and stuff. It's way more exciting than that. He says that it contains mineral salts that are undiscovered, specifically cluster salts. These subgroups of sodium bond together as one and are infused with celery's other critical chemical compounds and information that's highly active in healing the body. What? He also says that drinking celery juice is beneficial for numerous diseases and that none of these conditions that he lists have known causes. Really? The cause of gout is unknown? And acne? And Lyme disease? A few of these diseases are less well understood or less treatable than Lyme disease, but conflating all of them and calling Lyme disease a medical mystery is more than enough proof that this guy does not know what he's talking about. Like any good quack, not only does Anthony have one big solution for all of, you know, humanity's ailments, but he also has one big cause as well, the Epstein-Barr Virus. He thinks that most conditions are actually caused by EBV, the Epstein-Barr Virus, which is a type of herpes that most of us have, we are infected with by the time we reach adulthood. His claim essentially is that it's toxins that are being produced by EBV that are causing all of the problems, toxins that are produced when the virus eats heavy metals. He also insists that autoimmune diseases are not really autoimmune diseases, that is a myth, it doesn't exist, because the body could not possibly be attacking itself by mistake because the body is wise and loves you unconditionally. He also acts like this is something that mainstream medicine is just blind or indifferent to, and that they're actually essentially victim blaming, like by saying that it's your body that's doing this, like they're shaming you, and that all doctors want to do is treat the symptoms with more drugs, which is not true. And side note, it's interesting that he harps on the, medical community is the one who's making people feel bad and like shaming people when it's really the other way around. It's the quacks who are making you feel like you're the one who's sick because you didn't drink celery juice or you didn't eat correctly or you didn't do the acupuncture or whatever it is that they're, mainly selling. And in fact, we have an example of this. This comes from Inverse. They have a whole kind of expose on Medical Medium that's really good. They talk about this woman who has a kid who is really sick. She consulted with Anthony because, of course, he does consultations for an arm and a leg. I think this was $300 for an hour. So she called him as a last resort. He said that he would be able to diagnose her son and actually heal him. Of course, he did not. Instead, he told her that, of course, it was the Epstein-Barr virus and that actually the mother was the one who had it and she had passed it on to her son when she was pregnant with him. Her son ended up dying 48 days later from a seizure, and because of her consultation with Anthony, she felt responsible. After all, William told her she had passed along EBV to her son, Gavin, which was supposedly the source of all his illness. All I could think was, oh my God, I did this to him. This was me. But back to the Epstein-Barr virus, it does actually increase the risk for a few cancers, but the idea that it is the cause of any of the conditions that he's listed is not supported by science. But, the spirit of compassion didn't gift me the knowledge to diagnose every person ever, so what do I know? But what's the harm in all of this, really? I mean, ultimately, the guy is just recommending that you eat more vegetables, or I guess drink more vegetables, drink celery juice. What's the big deal? First, he's not just recommending celery juice, he's also recommending a shit ton of supplements, most of which are not totally benign, like Echinacea, which people with autoimmune diseases are advised to avoid. Second, not everybody can afford to drink that much celery juice every day. It is one of the cheaper vegetables, but according to Anthony, you need about one bunch to make 16 fluid ounces of celery juice. Where I live, one bunch of celery is about $1, so that's $1 a day, $30 a month. Not everyone can afford that, can pay $30 a month for essentially no calories. But according to Anthony, celery is truly the savior when it comes to chronic illness. So it's not hard to imagine people either feeling bad and feeling like they can never be well because they can't afford it, or trying desperately to afford the celery juice and, let's be real, whatever supplements he's recommending as well, in order to finally cure their chronic illness. That's terrible. Inverse shares a story just like this. It's actually from like an anti-medical medium Facebook group. This woman talks about her 72-year-old mother, Lorraine, who contacted William. She paid $500 for a half-hour phone call and even more for his books. She also has a refrigerator full of supplements. He's milking her out of lots of money, her daughter says. I'm sure he's making all his money from folks like my mother who are on a limited income who can't afford to pay him all this. She's spending money that she really needs to live. The third reason that medical medium and his recommendations are not harmless is because people could end up opting for juice, for celery juice and like herbal supplements instead of actual medicine, which could be harmful or even life-threatening. I mean, can you imagine someone contracting Lyme disease, reading this, deciding that it's a medical mystery, that doctors don't know what they're doing, and then deciding to drink celery juice instead, and then dying of some stupid, easily curable disease? That is what makes quacks like Anthony so dangerous. It's not that they end up drinking celery juice that they don't need. It's that they end up drinking celery juice in lieu of actual medicine that they need to survive. And finally, all of this has the potential to get so many people's hopes up. I talked about this in the carnivore diet video, believing that eating only meat or going vegan or drinking celery juice is going to cure your thyroid disorder or whatever it is that you have, and then it doesn't. That's terribly demoralizing. So that's it, really. Like I said, there's a million other things that this guy says that you can find. Please don't buy his books. Jesus Christ. But you can find articles on his website and also on the Goop website. The Goop website is really funny. I don't know how long they've been doing this, but on their contributor articles, they have these little... Well, they have their typical, medical disclaimer on the bottom that's like, nothing we say here is medical advice. Please don't sue us. And then they also have this little mini disclaimer, I guess I would call it, at the top. So on the medical medium's opinion on the origins of thyroid cancer, right above it, it says, fascinating, but inexplicable. These are concepts and practices that we are deeply curious about. They typically fall outside of the realm of conventional biomedicine, but really resonate with some. In other words, we know this is garbage, but it gets us clicks. My favorite is on this one, The Mysteries of the Thyroid. It says, for your enjoyment. There probably aren't going to be peer-reviewed studies about this concept, but it's fun, and there's real merit in that. Is there really merit in Goop promoting a guy who obviously, at least some people are taking seriously? People are potentially getting off of medication that they need, spending money on supplements that they don't need and could actually be harmful. If you needed any more proof that Goop is garbage, there you go. So that's the medical medium. And you know, it's funny. I was actually really shocked by the medium part, by the psychic gifting of knowledge part. I don't know why, but when I read it, specifically from one person's comment, and I saw a few other people asking me to comment on the medical medium, I just didn't make the connection that that's what it meant. I don't know why, but I just didn't. I just kind of saw it and I saw celery juice and was like, oh, okay, some standard quack. And then I saw the thing about spirit of compassion. I was like, oh, medium. Oh, okay. Oh, that's fun. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe. That's cool. Support the channel. Patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. And I will have a new video very soon.